Hey, Successors, before we get into the show today, I'd like to tell you about my new book, Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. If you're struggling to stay motivated or just need a little boost, check out the ways that I've stayed motivated over the last few years. Go ahead and go over to Amazon.com and grab yourself a copy. That's Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. Get it now. On with the show.
Success. Media. Network. 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 Network.
This is your show.
Good day, Successors. I'm Antonio Holman, and welcome to the 4 Principles of Success number 66, where I chat with successful people and entrepreneurs about how they enhance their businesses and lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. And if you want to learn how I've stayed motivated throughout the years, check out my new book, Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success, now on Amazon. Today, we're talking to Mitch Russo. Mitch is located in Marlborough, Massachusetts, and is a serial entrepreneur, award-winning landscape photographer, host of the Your First 1,000 Clients podcast, author of the Amazon bestseller, The Invisible Organization, former CEO of Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes Business Breakthroughs International, founder of Time Slips Corporation, real estate developer, and 2-time Inc. Magazine Entrepreneur of the Year nominee, who has amassed a life of experiences and insight in the world of business and entrepreneurship. Mitch, are you ready to help our listeners prepare for success?
Absolutely, Antonio. Let's go.
All right, I'm excited about this. So, Mitch, before we get started, aside from your business world, tell us a little bit about your personal life.
Sure. Well, one of the things you mentioned in the intro is that I'm a photographer. So being a photographer means that I have an excuse and a reason to disappear just about any time I want. So that's what I do. And I travel all over the world with my camera. I love to take photographs of beautiful places, what I call epic. And people can take a look at what I do if they go to MitchRussoTravels.com.
What was one of your favorite destinations to photograph?
So many. Honestly, Iceland has to be just about my favorite place. I've been there 6 times. I probably will be back another 6 times. It's an epic place, and every time I go, I discover new things to make beautiful photography there. It's just an incredible place.
All right, so let's get into this a little bit here. Okay, what was your inspiration to delving so deeply into the world of business and entrepreneurship?
Well, my inspiration was negative, actually. It was coming from a family where I watched as my mom went through a terrible divorce when we were kids. And I watched as the family was devastated financially. Both my dad and my mom at that point were set back severely. And it was sad to watch and difficult for my sister and I to watch. And I think we both made some decisions around never wanting to be in a situation where we don't have control over our financial lives. And that was a motivator to me.
Now, you wrote the book, The Invisible Organization. For those who may not know, tell us about the book, what inspired you to write it, and who was your target audience?
Sure. Well, I was the president and CEO of Business Breakthroughs International, which was a joint venture between myself, Tony Robbins, and the late Chet Holmes. And after, we grew that company dynamically and significantly. We grew it to over $25 million a year in revenue. And as the company was really just flourishing in every way, my partner, Chet, came down with leukemia, and he passed away about 14 months later. So when Chet died, I really felt like my time at the company had been over. I felt like, it was time for me to move on too. And so Tony and I got together and we chatted about it, and I told him that, and he wished me well, and off I went. I didn't know what I was going to do. It was a pivot point for me in my life. So I called my friend Jay Abraham, and I said, Jay, what should I do? I just wrapped up with Tony and now Chet, who's gone. And I have no direction at the moment. So it was required of me to, I guess, pivot, if that word applies here. because I didn't have a list, I didn't have a following, I didn't have a product. All I had was me. So Jay said something that was really insightful, as Jay always says something that's insightful. He said, look, you got to teach others what you know. You can't let what you know go to waste. And I said, okay, then what do I do? How do I do that? And his response was, I'm not sure. Think about it and respond, because, as I said, what you've done is too valuable to just let that evaporate. It has to be, you have to use those skills to help others. So I thought about it for a while, and I thought maybe what he meant was to take a job, which, geez, I hate taking jobs. So I decided I would write a book. And the inspiration came from Jay, and he was kind enough to write the foreword for the book as well. So Jay and I spent some time. I sent him the manuscript. He liked it, and he wrote a great foreword for the book. And the book really is a blueprint for doing a lot of what I did at BBI, a lot of the management philosophy that I had to develop in order to run a company of 300 partners and people all over the world. And I did it all from a spare bedroom converted to an office here in my home. So for me, it was a significant way to sort of knowledge dump, if you will, into a place that hopefully could benefit others. And the book was published in, I believe it was May of 2015. And it did well. As soon as it was published, it became number one on Amazon in a matter of days. And I get communication from people all the time who've read the book and who seem to have benefited from that. So that's the story of the book.
When you were in high school, you formed a rock band, which actually is something that I'm a drummer, so I'm very familiar with that whole aspect of it and how insane it gets. You speak on how that experience led you to become a great CEO. What do you feel are the correlations between the two?
Yeah, see, I was maybe 16 years old, 15 years old at the time. I had started taking guitar lessons when I was 12, I think, because I loved the guitar. I loved music, and I had tried several instruments, and I really wanted to play the guitar. So guitar was my instrument. I felt like it was the one that was best for me. And so I just loved playing. But what I realized also was that, I was socially a shy person growing up, and particularly around girls. But what I realized would draw people to me is the guitar and potentially a band. So the primary reason for starting a band, to meet girls. What can I say? That was my reason. But as the band progressed, as we get together and jam on a Saturday afternoon, what started to happen is that we started to realize that we didn't sound very good, just playing. We just kind of futzing around, really. So what we decided to do was to take one song at a time and just practice and practice and practice until we got really, really good at that one song. There's a part of the story I'll tell you that it just makes the story a little longer, but it's fun to know. Back then, all of us used to smoke pot and get high. And, the thing about it is that if you're a musician, you know that it's not going to, may sound better when you're stoned, but you don't play better when you're stoned. I can tell you that right now. And I had to record us stoned in order to prove it to the rest of the guys. But once everyone heard the recording, we all agreed that we should not be getting high if we're going to practice or play publicly. So that's what we did. And so we learned things like, repetition brings quality. Quality is important, but perfection is not. So that was a big lesson for us. Then once we had developed a set list and we had gotten 10, 12, 13 songs done, we felt like we could go out and play as a band. And we started to gig. And one of the things that we noticed is that, people liked us and we kept asking us to other places. And so we started to charge. At first we were free, and then we started to charge $50 for a night. But eventually, over the course of that year, we kept raising prices to find out where where the iron would hit the steel. And it turns out that we were able to get $500 a night. In 1970, a group of 4 high school kids playing in a rock band. So we learned all about price testing. Then what we did after every show is we carry a clipboard with us, and we'd ask each of the moms, if it was a Sweet 16, or the fraternity or sorority partners who hired us, to write us a short testimonial. So we were getting testimonials even at that age. So all these lessons became so critical to later when I started building Timeslips Corporation. These were the same lessons that I used to build my company. So as you can see, and it goes on. I mean, we learned that if we we wrote up the show and sent it into the local newspaper, they'd publish it. I mean, for heaven's sakes, PR. Why not use PR? It's free. So we did all of those things. And that's what I meant before when I said this really was the influence that I had growing up, learning how to do this.
Yeah, that was an awesome experience. I love that story of the aspects of young kids utilizing things that are huge helps in the world of business today. And what year was that? 1970 what?
1970, that's right.
Wow. Yeah, that's incredible. Bright kids.
Oh, well, listen, we were ambitious. And we also knew that, every time we played, we'd meet more girls. So what was bad about that?
You were the CEO of Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes Business Breakthroughs International. How did you initially get into such a space with these two prominent names in the world of entrepreneurship and coaching?
Well, it was through my relationship with Chet Holmes. Chet and I became friends in the late 1980s when he was selling advertising space in a magazine. And he called on me when I was running Timeslips Corporation. And he and I just kept talking, and we became friends. And he tried to sell me his advertising month after month, almost year after year, until I finally relented and bought ads from him. And they worked fantastic. So this only made our relationship and our friendship stronger. And from there, we just kept staying in touch and talking and meeting and hanging out. And in fact, all of our lives at that point forward was changed because of this friendship. So for me and for listeners, I think the lesson here is that if you can build a friendship with influential people, even though they may not be influential when you know them, do that. Make the effort, take the time, because you never know where it's going to lead you. And this friendship led me to being in business with Tony Robbins.
What was that experience like? Was it overwhelming, or was it just really exciting, like, a person like me would imagine it to be?
Well, the star power stuff wears off relatively quickly. So after a short period of time, and, Tony Robbins touched my life in ways that he never knew through his programs and materials. So once I conveyed that to Tony and told him all about the cool, the breakthroughs that I had because of his material, we just got down to being partners. And he was always Tony. I mean, there was no doubt about that. But it was just really evolving as a relationship. It wasn't, like he's the boss or I'm the boss. We were just in business together, utilizing what each of us did best. So what Tony did best was he was able to bring people to the company, because after all, people know him. Chet was great at creating content, and he created a lot of content. And I was great at organizing, building, and creating the infrastructure of a business. And that's what I did. So the three of us together were a good fit. And after a while, there were times when I got direct coaching from Tony. And I like to think of having Chet and Tony as my personal business coaches for 5 years, an experience that I don't think could be matched in any other way for me.
Mm-hmm. Now, these days, everybody is trying to be a founder. A lot of times, it seems to be tech founders of these companies, me included. What do you feel are the 3 major things that founders need to realize before even getting started?
Well, this is going to sound really, really basic, but it's kind of important. I've founded several companies. I'm starting another one right now. And basically what it comes down to is this. You need to understand that things are going to take longer. Things are going to change. Things are going to require resources that right now you did not anticipate. So if you're going into this for a quick hit, I'm here to tell you that it doesn't always work that way. You're going to need money. You're going to need patience. You're going to need to stay focused on your new company, because otherwise it may disappear and not in a way that you like. So if it's important, if you're going to be a founder, if that's your thing, then understand in advance that you better be prepared for spending more money than you thought, taking longer than you thought, and making it harder than you thought.
Wow, those are powerful words. Yeah, and I'm coming to realize that is exactly the truth, down to the word, down to the letter. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. I mean, the rewards can be significant, as I've discovered, but there could be a series of failures before you get there. And the trick is to not be discouraged. You know, you're going to experience the ups and downs of entrepreneurship. I mean, there probably aren't emotional swings that get any wilder in any other place. Maybe being an emergency room surgeon, you have those emotional swings the same way. But that's the way I think about what you go through when you're founding a company.
Yeah. So, and that leads me to my next question. Life is full of ups and downs, just like you mentioned, and nothing's ever perfect all the time. Throughout your journey, what was that time when you felt most unsuccessful in your life?
Well, there were many, but probably the worst for me was it was probably after I sold my software company, and I had been invited to help build another company by a venture capital firm in my area. And we had formed the company and it was running. And there were two things happening almost simultaneously. One was the dot-com bust of 2000. And if anyone lived through that, you know that the entire internet dot-com era came to an end. And we were a dot-com company. And while this was going on, of course, I had discovered that my ex-wife was we were about to be divorced, and some horrible things were going on in my life, and we had a little girl, a baby girl. So, turns out that that I needed to take control of the situation. I needed to take custody of my daughter. My ex-wife was very ill in a very bad way, and it was very, very stressful, and it basically almost crushed me. It took every ounce of strength I had to make it through that era, and as tough as it was, we did make it through, but the dot-com bust took its toll on everybody in that area, including our little company.
What was your most challenging client-related situation, and how did you resolve it?
Well, that's the key to success, resolving challenging client situations. I'll tell you one that really turned into enormous silver lining. We sold software, and back then we would ship software on floppy disks, and it would arrive at an office and people would install the software, and then they would use it to run their accounting practice or their law firm. So lawyers and accountants were a primary client. And it turns out I got a phone call from my tech support department. They said, there's a woman on the phone. She's absolutely livid. She says she is the chair of the technology division of the American Bar Association in Los Angeles, and she wants to sue you. Would you like to talk to her?
Oh.
I said, yeah. So I got her on the phone, and she's really upset. She said our software crashed her computer, and she's going to sue us. And look, we knew that when you mess with the finances of attorneys, you're putting yourself in danger. And we knew potentially what that could mean. So after I refunded her money, calmed her down, assured her that I would have somebody out into her office the next day, you got to understand, I didn't have anybody I could send there. I had no idea how I was going to fulfill that promise. But I made the promise. I said, even if I have to fly out there myself, I would do it. But I knew I needed to solve the problem. So I remembered I had another client who lived about 20 minutes away. And I called her up. Her name was Anne. And I said to Anne, I need a favor. I know you don't know me very well. And she said, oh, no, Mitch, I love your software, and I'm thrilled to get a call from you and happy to do you a favor for you. And I said, Anne, would you be willing to go over to this other person's office and fix their time slips installation? And she said, oh, of course, I'd love to help you. And I said, oh, thank you so much. I can pay you. She goes, no, don't worry. It's totally fine. So I send her over there, and this was a big risk because I had no idea who really she was. And I didn't know what was going to happen. She could have made it worse. So I'm sitting by the phone. It's almost 9 o'clock at night, and there's a 3-hour time difference between the West Coast and the East Coast. And it was after 9 that my cell phone rang. And back then, cell phones were the size of lunch boxes. And so I remember getting the call, and I said, Anne, please update me. What happened? And she says, oh, it turned out great. I got her set up. Her system wasn't set up properly. We got her set up. She's running. She was so thrilled. And here's the best part. And I said, what's that, Anne? She gave me $100 bill. And I said, oh, that's wonderful. Thank you again for doing it. And here's the magic words that changed my life. She said, and if there's anybody else you know who needs my help, you let me know. Well, that resonated with me so strongly, and I kept thinking to myself, what is this resource all of a sudden that I had that I didn't have before? Who else in my installed base knows my software so well that they could actually help others? Well, this became the beginning of the TimeSlips Certified Consultant Program. And this program, there were ups and downs with that. We first came out with a test, and we sold the test, but we didn't do a good enough job of training people, so we had a lot of problems in the field with that. But after we got it all straightened out, and after these people were really running well, that group ballooned to 350 TimeSlips certified consultants, and it turns out that certified consultant community doubled the value of my company in just 2 years. It reduced my tech support by 20%. They became our third largest sales channel. So that one phone call responding to a mistake just changed our world completely.
Wow, that's incredible. That's a great story. Love that.
Well, that's what happens. That's what happens when you do the right thing, when you step up, and when you respond even without knowing exactly how you're going to fix a problem.
What do you feel was the one hardest thing for you to overcome in your business that you've since conquered?
There's several. It's a long list, but probably for me, the most difficult thing I had to overcome was the not knowing how to delegate. And I know it sounds simple. Oh, just ask other people to do stuff you need to do. Well, as an entrepreneur with entrepreneur's disease, which is a disease that strikes us all, which means we must control everything. We're the best at everything we do, and no one could do it as good as us. That's entrepreneur's disease. You have it, I have it. We all start out with that, and we have to learn to overcome it. Some people learn quite naturally. Others, like me, struggle with it. So I struggled with that, and I needed help. And I ended up learning from some very powerful people on how to delegate and how to hire better, smarter people than me across the entire spectrum of the talent that I needed to run this company. So it was a big growth period for me about 18 months into building TimeSlips Corporation. And I was only 28, 29 years old at the time. So I had to figure a lot of this out. I wish I could have hired a coach. I didn't even know there was such things as business coaches. I think a business coach could have accelerated the progress of my company tenfold if I would have found the right person at the right time. But so it took me 2 years to figure it all out and finally get in a great management team, which is what we did.
Entrepreneur's disease. I love that so much. I could see a really great marketing campaign behind that
Yeah, inoculate people from entrepreneur's disease.
What one thing in your business are you currently struggling to overcome?
Well, it's a different world now, and it's the world we live in, and it's the world of social media and funnels and Facebook and Messenger and all these things. So I'm starting a new software company, and my company solves a problem that has existed in many areas of life, but particularly in the world of internet marketing and courses. So I don't know about you, it's probably never happened to you, but I'll tell you for me, I've bought courses over the internet from people who were doing launches. And I bought those courses, and some of them I never finished, and many of them I never got the benefit from. And I know it's just me. I'm sure no one else has ever had this experience. But if it happens that you've had that experience too, then what do? I mean, some people have gone out on a limb. Maybe some have borrowed money to buy these courses and are now out several $1,000s. Well, you see, two things happen when you buy a course and you don't complete it. The first is you lost your money. The second thing that happens is you lost a little bit of your self-esteem and you feel bad. Well, usually people believe that the reason they failed is because they didn't have the right course. So what do? They go out and buy another one.
Yes.
And so here's the thing. All of those courses are like weights on our shoulders that accumulate and make it very difficult for us to be successful, or harder. I mean, you could still be successful, but it just makes it harder. So I was soul searching one day, and I decided to apply something I knew from other lifetimes, meeting other areas of my life when I was in business. I decided to get an accountability partner, and I did. And by using an accountability partner, I was able to complete the course that I was struggling with, get the result, get my money's worth, and actually be successful in that area. Well, I was thinking a little bit more about it, and I came up with an idea. And the idea was to build a platform, like entrepreneur dating, if you will, where people can find a match for themselves and then have the system actually modulate an entire accountability session, keep track of their statistics, and set them up every week in a schedule to meet again. And the system I built is incredibly fun to use and interactive. I spent a year in development with programmers and system designers, and it's finally live. It's finally coming online now. So if this interview goes live before December, you won't find it. But after December, if you go to the results, you just go to resultsbreakthrough.com, resultsbreakthrough.com. You'll be able to see the system for yourself. And if you like, you can sign up. It's very inexpensive. It will restore your own faith in yourself. Once you find an accountability partner, once you start working together, once you start seeing that, you know what, two people together can get through almost anything, where one person alone will struggle. So that's what I'm struggling with today, is launching this massive system using all of the tools of social media and internet marketing that brought me here to begin with.
Wow, I love that. Absolutely. You touched a nerve. And I think this is going to help a lot of people, well, on the journey to success. I'm going to check it out, Mitch.
Awesome. Great.
Guaranteed. Oh, by the way, successors, that's resultsbreakthrough.com for Mitch's new accountability technology. Man, that's awesome. It's like an automatic, well, I hate to use the terminology, dating app, matchmaking, entrepreneur matchmaking.
So imagine if you were able to go onto Match.com and you find some awesome potential date for yourself. But imagine now if the app actually guided you through the date itself so that you had a great experience.
Oh, yeah.
See, that's what my system does. It sets you up face-to-face on the computer. You could be on Skype, you could be on the phone, but you're looking at my questions and my answers from last week, and then you take me through my accountability session, and when it's over, you click the switch button, and I do the same for you.
That is excellent. I love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah. So it's awesome. I'm so excited about it. I believe this is my way. You know, I've always loved the idea of affecting people and changing the world and helping as many people as I can. This right now is the way I believe I can change the world. I could help the most people.
What do you feel is your one biggest business triumph to date?
Well, I mean, financially, it would have to be having started Timeslips Corporation with $5,000 and sold it for 8 figures. I mean, that is financially the biggest quote-unquote triumph, if you want to use that word. But the bigger triumph was learning everything I had to learn in order to do that. So overcoming the beginner's mindset and truly learning and growing in that 9-year period was massive for me and set me up for my future success. The ability to be a partner with Tony Robbins and Chet Holmes, I mean, that to me was incredible as well. Today, what I think most about is I think about my clients. And when I only work with what I call transformational leaders, people who are ready and can change the world, but don't have the business design or the systems in place to make that happen. So when I work with someone privately, and I'll tell you up front, it's expensive and not everybody can, but when I work with somebody privately, I already understand almost after our first interview that they have that potential. So I'm working with a former NFL star right now with his amazing passion to change the world. I'm working with another gentleman who has bought and sold 15 or 18 companies, and he's about to release an incredible platform for anybody ever wanted to learn about selling and buying a company. Another one of my clients is a doctor, and she has created a way of educating women in fully unleashing their sexual sovereignty to the world. And she is an amazing individual, and that's why I chose her as a client, because I knew she could change the world and free women all over the world. So if someone like that comes along, I feel compelled to work with them. Why? Because it gives me the challenge and the ability to change the world through them.
Mm-hmm. Powerful. What do you feel is your one biggest personal triumph to date?
My daughter. My daughter is my biggest personal triumph because she was born into adversity. She was born to an alcoholic mom who basically was unable to handle raising her. I had to raise her myself from the age of 7.5 up. And now I have a beautiful, healthy, successful daughter who's working in the industry she loves. She graduated Lesley University magna cum laude and has found the job of her dreams. So that to me on a personal level is my greatest success.
Hang tight, successors. We'll return to our conversation with Mitch Russo as well as quick success after a word from our sponsors. Are you a tense, tired, busy person who works day in and day out who tends to lack the proper sleep and energy? Using modular supplements, health-related articles, recipes, life hacks, and more, Bellison can help. With quality as high as Bellison, you're buying from a company that cares about the environment and only uses premium vegan supplements. That's Bellison.com. Want to learn how to cook healthy, exercise, and meditate in just 30 minutes a day? Bellison.com. Want to feel healthy, energetic, and focused like me? Bellison.com. To receive a 10% discount at checkout. Whoa, hold on. Now receive even more health benefits with a 20% discount at checkout. Go to Bellison.com with the coupon code the4POS to get your 20% off now. Visit Bellison.com. That's Belisan.com. Compassion and quality without compromise. Bellison.com. Are you tired of trying every new diet fad? Sick of the pills, shakes, and vibrating belts? Are you just sick and tired of being sick and tired? Linda Lavender knows exactly how you feel. That's why she created Eat to Live to Love. Eat to Live to Love is a personalized mentoring program 100% unique to you. With 24/7 support, learn to shop smart, save money, eat clean, and find your purpose using the tools and resources you need to achieve real weight loss and transformative healing without ever having to buy another gimmicky fat-sucking wrap or magic protein shake. Eat to Live to Love has been the driving force behind people across the United States to not only change their lives, but to actually take back control. Find out how health coach Linda Lavender can help you become your own hero and transform your life at eattolivetolove.com or call 1-888-440-9795 for a free initial consultation. Stop just dreaming about success and make it happen with Eat to Live to Love. Visit eattolivetolove.com now. That's eat, the number 2, live, the number 2, love.com. Eat to Live to Love. Healing, weight loss, and fitness. And we're back with author, podcaster, serial entrepreneur, and much, much more, Mitch Russo. Now we get into the part of the show I like to call Quick Success, where you, Mitch, can inspire the successors to enhance their lives in the areas of knowledge, health, wealth, and spirituality. Mitch, what are you currently doing to enhance your knowledge?
Well, I believe that if you are not constantly learning, you are slowly dying, I guess, intellectually and in some ways emotionally as well. So I learn all the time. I spend a lot of time with books and on and reading the materials of very successful, smart people, and that nourishes me and that teaches me incredible amounts of information. I listen to podcasts constantly because I'm constantly learning and getting new ideas from podcasts. So for me, podcasts are essential to the growth of my skills and to the success that I have. So, and you know that I have a podcast myself.
Yeah, and what's the name of your show again?
Your First 1,000 Clients.
Okay, you got a new subscriber, by the way.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you. So the idea here is that if you're not learning, then you're not progressing. And if you're not learning, how could you grow? So it's very important to continue to learn. Of course, there's books as well. I mean, I have a Kindle. My Kindle has about, I'm going to guess, 200 books on it. I've read about 15% of those books. I buy them a lot faster than I read them, but I do make an effort to read the books on my Kindle because, again, every one of them, I generally have a notepad open and I'm taking notes as I read them because the information listen, we're all creators, every one of us. You're a creator. I'm a creator. All of you listeners, you're creators. You just don't yet know exactly how your creation is going to affect the world or your family or yourself. Doesn't matter. Keep track of them. Write them down. Journal every single day. One of the most successful habits I've ever had is to journal.
You just said one of the most powerful things that I tend to mention a lot is that we're all creators. And that is like one very powerful thing that we all possess is the power of creation. And it's very frustrating when I see people who don't realize that because you have the power to create the life that you want.
That's right, you do. And that power is only in your hands. There's nobody else who could do it for you. There are people who will show up and give you opportunities. So, for me, what's important to understand is that there is a higher power, a universal knowledge, if you will, in this world, and that drives a lot of what I do. I always relate to that as the source of my creativity and my gifts in life. And I think that universal, call it God, call it knowledge, wisdom, it's there for all of us. All we need to do is be quiet long enough to allow it in and to appreciate it, and it will be there.
Mm-hmm. What are you currently doing to enhance your health?
Well, that changes a lot. I have an episode on my show with Dr. Stephen Gundry, the author of a book called The Plant Paradox. And I read this book, and it really changed my entire viewpoint of how a human being should eat. And it was so powerful to me that I bought a copy of that book for my family members, and I sought out Dr. Gundry to interview him on my show. And in our interview, I challenge a lot of what he talks about in the book. He makes a statement. He says, I've never met a healthy vegetarian. Well, I needed to challenge that statement, and on my show, I do. And Dr. Gundry changed the way I view food and eating. And since then, my diet has changed. And but I'm always experimenting with new things. One of the things, I was at a conference, and I go to a lot of conferences. So I was at a conference, and I heard someone speak on something called CBD oil. And so I decided I was going to investigate it. And so I did. I went and bought some of this CBD oil, And now I have started to supplement with it. And CBD oil, for those of you who don't know what it is one of the active ingredients in hemp, in marijuana. Or now, as they say, cannabis is the word to use. So it doesn't get you high. That's not what it's for. But there are elements of this, and I believe in high doses, it's used to cure cancer, and it's successful in some cases. So I think this is really the pioneering era for things like CBD oil. So I decided that, it's a little bit expensive, but I was going to start supplementing with it. And I have bought CBD oil now for family members as well, because I know my mom has some pain in her back. My daughter has some anxiety issues that, again, CBD oil is supposed to help. So that's what I'm experimenting with right now.
Now, as a vegan, you've piqued my interest with the Plant Paradox book. What really is he saying about, well, you said vegetarians not being healthy. What does he mean by that?
Well, let's start with the basic premise of the book. And again, I want you to promise me that you're going to listen to that show because, again, it has vital information that if you're a vegetarian, you need to know. So here's the basic premise. Plants are alive. They have the same survival instinct that we do, and they want to survive. In fact, all living species have as a core element the drive to survive. Even bacteria, viruses, that's why they continue to morph into different forms so that they can survive. Well, plants do too, and the thing that plants want to do is protect themselves. Well, a plant can't get away, stand up and run away when you try to eat them. So instead what they do is they create chemistry. They're amazing chemists, and they're pharmaceutical marvels. So what they do is they create elements that will eventually hurt their predators so they can flourish, and so their predators will die. And over time, it's been discovered that things like tomatoes, and again, people think of these as common plants, tomatoes, cucumbers, bell peppers, these things Dr. Gundry believes and has claimed contain something called lectins, and not good lectins. And these lectins attack and can potentially destroy our organs. And he was the head of the American Association of Cardiac Surgeons. He had performed 10,000 different surgeries all around the area of cardiac health. He then quit being a successful surgeon and started an institute once he discovered the plant paradox, and has since cured thousands of people of heart disease and other ailments using the diet that he describes in his book, The Plant Paradox. So when I asked him on the show, and I'm not going to tell you what he said, but I will tell you this. It's not hard to correct the diet that vegetarians are on, but there are elements that are missing, and it's not necessarily meat. He does recommend at one point that you reduce your meat intake for everybody down to 4 ounces a day. 4 to 8 ounces a day of animal protein is all anyone needs. But there are other elements missing. And in the book and in my show, he will disclose what those are. And frankly, I'd be speaking secondhand anyway. To really do justice to the story, you need to hear it from him.
Right. Yeah. You got me really curious. I will be listening to that.
Good.
What are you currently doing to enhance your wealth?
Well, that's another interesting thing that I had this realization a couple of years ago, that as much wealth as anyone can have in the bank in terms of money, what's more important, I believe, is cash flow. And so as I've gotten older, I've started to put in place various tools to create passive income. And that is, again, something that I'm slowly building over time. But I've made some good progress with that. So I've set up some websites that now generate passive income for me. I bought some websites that have passive income that I'm now continuing to grow and make those websites thrive. I bought real estate investments the same way. I've used companies like RealtyMogul.com, which allow me to invest in real estate without the hassle, but share in the upside and the continuous flow of return. So my goal right now, besides growing my new software company and potentially having a liquidity event in the future, my goal right now is trying to create massive passive income.
What are you currently doing to enhance your spirituality?
Well, I try every day to meditate. I try every day. Every morning, I have a routine. So here's the way my routine works. I get up in the morning. I don't look at social media. I go downstairs to my kitchen, and I make myself a cup of bulletproof coffee. And I sit there with a glass of water, my vitamins, and bulletproof coffee. And I journal, and I read from ancient text, and I make notes of the insights that I receive. And then I read some more from another book that I'm currently enjoying. And then once I do that, I feel like my day is about to start. So the first thing I take care of is my physical health. So almost every day, not every day, like today I didn't do this, but normally every morning after I go through my routine that I described, I get in my car and I go to the gym. And I'm at the gym every single day that I can be. And I do aerobic exercise and some weight training. And then I come home and I start my day. So I usually leave myself about a half hour to organize from the night before. And at about 11 a.m. is when I begin getting on the phone, doing my work, working with my clients, interviewing people for my podcast. So my day begins at 11 a.m. Eastern Time every day.
Are there any modern technologies or apps that you use to help you achieve success?
Yeah, and these two apps in particular are the core of how I manage people and the companies that I'm involved in. One is Slack, and the other is Trello. So if you use these two apps, what you end up with is a communication system and a system of project organization. And so for me, those are the two most important elements, communication and organization. Yes, there are other apps I use, but those two in particular are the key elements of how I do that. Another one that I use almost every day is a program that's Mac only. It's called MindNode, MindNode. And MindNode allows me to build very powerful mind maps very quickly. So what is a mind map? A mind map is a way to two-dimensionalize concepts and be able to see them in a two-dimensional way. And when you do this, this is part of how I create my client relationships. So when I start with a new client, I get them on Skype and I do a 2-hour session with them. That's how we start every single new client. And what we do is we create a mind map of their entire company, all of their marketing, all of their sales channels, all of their products, all of their assets, all of what they're doing. And here's what ends up happening about an hour, hour and a half into the session. Opportunities emerge. Why? Because very few people ever see everything that they're doing all on the same sheet of paper or on the same screen. Usually it's compartmentalized all over the place. Well, when I work with the client and we do this mind map, it's amazingly powerful. And as a result, we design the future starting with that mind map. So those are the three key tools other than, word processing and calendaring and all that other stuff.
What new thing, book, activity, technology, or skill are you really excited to learn and dive into?
Well, I think like everybody, I'm fascinated by cryptocurrency. Everybody seems to be. I feel like I'm a little late to the party here, but I've been learning about cryptocurrency. I have some small cryptocurrency investments, but I'm skeptical, but I'm open and I want to learn more. So I'm spending some time every week watching a webinar or reading something online about cryptocurrency.
Mitch, how can our listeners connect with you?
Best way is to go to MitchRusso.com, MitchRusso.com.
And finally, what's your definition of success?
My definition of success is the same definition that I gave my daughter since she's a little girl. I said, the only thing you need to do in this lifetime is to be happy. Whatever it takes to get you to the place where you are happy, truly happy, not in a destructive or negative way, not in a way that's hurting others or hurting your own self-esteem, but achieve happiness, and that's success. And I work on that every single day.
Successors, I hope you've enjoyed my conversation with Mitch Russo. Please check out more successful free content like this at the4pos.com, as well as rate, review, and subscribe wherever you find podcasts. Thanks for listening and prepare for success. If you want to do more, earn more, be more, and stay more motivated, visit Amazon.com right now for a copy of Indulge Your Affirmative Motivation Within, 25 Motivations of Personal Development and Life Success. Get it now at Amazon.com.